Oh, today's date is January 7th. It's evening. Just got back from the Capitol. I gave a report this morning about what we exactly did. I just wanted to formulate exactly how we went about this. When the January 6th Trump rally was planned, I was contacted by a patriot to assemble a cell cluster, which is a group of people, small groups, that could move freely, work independent. Each cell, the way they work, is you only know one other member of another cell. I was trying to get 6 cells myself. I only got 2, but other patriots hopefully did much better than I did. We tried to make those cells diverse. So I contacted some Hispanic Americans, and I figured, okay, I'll do Marines and Marine vets I knew, and they wouldn't have none of it. And finally, we got the Army guys together. They seemed interested, but then we ran out of people at the end. A few people ditched. The idea was, as I posted on Facebook, was to protect the Capitol at all costs. You remember this? I put this out because we had intelligence that informed us that BLM and Antifa were going to attack the Trump supporters and attack federal buildings to make it look like Trump supporters were rioting. We started our morning. We left the hotel at about 7:30. We arrived at the Trump rally at around 08:15, something of that nature. And we watched the Trump rally in its entirety in Freedom Park, or the Ellipse, whatever they call it. We zigzagged in and out of the large crowd and trying to observe anything that's happening. Every person on the teams were told to get video, wear video cameras, and take pictures. Identify any threats. My team's going to move up behind the end of the group that was leaving the meeting or the rally and heading up towards the state or towards the national capitol. That's a pretty good walk, about I don't know exactly how long, maybe a quarter mile or so, or a mile, heck if I know. But everybody started moving. When we zigzagged through the crowds, I did notice that there were several different types of militia groups there that weren't your typical Trump supporters. I would say there was 3 or 4 different militia groups that were there. Probably pro-right or something of that nature, and is what it is. They got pushed to the precipice. But at any rate, there were no attacks at the Trump rally. And I was bumping into people, doing all the techniques. I do want to add that I do have a graduate level degree. I did 30 years in the Army, retired as a command sergeant major. I also did 10 years in the Department of Defense and retired from there too. But what gives my certification in these particular areas is I'm a graduate of the John F. Kennedy Special Warfare Center, and I am a certified anti-terrorist instructor. So I don't work anymore, but that certification is still there. Bumping into people, hitting backpacks, trying to see who's carrying what in a passive way, and inconspicuously taking my knee, resting my back, and looking between people's legs, trying to see if there's backpacks left somewhere, items that were out of place. Didn't see any of that. And we went through that crowd, how many? 3, 4 times all the way around the crowd. So, our team was covering what I call the 12 o'clock position, which was up the Washington Monument all the way down. We had people at the 6 o'clock position. I didn't have teams at the 3 and the 9 o'clock position as I had anticipated. And I don't know what other Patriot cell groups are out there that were able to monitor those areas with video camera. However, when we moved to the Capitol, we did start to look around and observe just like we wanted to. You could see this on one of the Fox News clips, myself and these two gentlemen here, which is probably the only reason we're on video now, because we were on video then, pointing out what was going on, discussing it with each other, and trying to figure out what the dynamics were. One of the things we noticed is the Capitol Police allowed certain members into the Capitol and then blocked Trump supporters. And then they opened the doors and let everybody else in. I've seen videos of where they were using the police shields to break windows and things of that nature. Did happen. I don't know how they got those shields from those police officers, but they were able to take it with very little resistance, almost like they were invited. Once these radicals went inside and started tearing up the place and attacking the Capitol Police, there were patriots that went into that Capitol building with no harm, but just wanted to see what was going on. Now, so some of them got suckered into it. They got played. And we were told, you will be baited. You will be baited by them to do things that you shouldn't do. Resist it. And I talked about this on the video too. So we observed the Capitol from the front of the building, and these are some of the things we saw.
So some of the things that I observed, I'm trained in long range reconnaissance, retired from the Army. Some of the things that I observed were groups of people that were communicating on radio with other people on the other sides of the Capitol building. They were using call signs and asking where other people within their group were. They identified these certain people that they were asking about. And when they got their locations, they said, okay, it's time, let's move, go now. And that's when these groups of people that were near us started running up the Capitol steps. And then you see groups from the other side of the Capitol also running up the Capitol steps. And that was right before people were already inside the Capitol building. But that was right before more people rushed in the Capitol building, and that was shortly before the woman was shot inside the Capitol building.
Call signs. We heard several call signs being utilized. Could not go live. Wanted to get a lot of things live on Facebook. That way they couldn't be manipulated. No one could question it. I do believe there were jammers there. And I think the jammers were stronger than handheld. Most possibly a backpack with an external battery, because on the ends of the Capitol building you could get signal, but in the front and in the back and around the entrances you could not stream live video. What were the call signs that I'd sent them out before? But
see, Fireball and
Fireball, yeah, and like Kilroy.
Kilroy.
Fireball and Kilroy. We remember Kilroy because we had one of our ORPs is the Kilroy on the World War II memorial on the Atlantic side in case we got separated. We also had rally points set up at the carousel in front of the Smithsonian Castle, as well as at the Smithsonian metro station to link up in the event that we were attacked and had to split up by BLM and Antifa. While we were en route, I want to back up a little bit because while we were in DC, we arrived a day early so we could do a reconnaissance of the area. We found that BLM and Antifa were being brought in under police escort. Later, I received information from another patriot stating that Antifa and BLM had been removed from the city. My assumption is they came back. What I did receive as far as information was that Antifa and BLM were going to be wearing Trump hats backwards, and the hats were going to be black. And watch out for those guys because we believe they're BLM Antifa. You know, when you have a large group of people all dressed the same way, wearing the same things, they have pretty much a unregulated or unconventional uniform of types, you might say. So We watched the call signs, we heard the call signs, and we did hear what alleged leader or co-leader or subordinate leader receive a radio message that was inaudible, but he did say rather loud enough for anyone to hear on the bottom of the scaffolding in front of the Capitol, say, "They're in, let's go." And they immediately sent 3 climbers up the scaffolding. They didn't even use the steps. They were able to go straight up the scaffolding. These were young guys. These weren't vets. They weren't wearing any Trump gear other than, I believe, the headgear. Most of them were wearing sand-colored equipment like assault packs, 72-hour packs, things of this nature. We watched them go into the Capitol building. And then we watched the others follow. The barricades were removed by the Capitol Police and then closed, I guess, until they did whatever they had to do, and then opened up for the regular supporters or protesters to come in, and which they did. And I believe they were baited into it. And I feel bad about it, but that's just the way it is. People wanted to see the see the Capitol, and people were saying it's our house and we own this house. It's our taxpayer money. So some guys got baited into going in there just to even look and see what happened, you know. But the people who breached that were not Trump supporters. They were Antifa and BLM. At this time, I realized I failed my mission, because it was to identify Antifa, BLM, and, as you recall in the video, protect the nation's capital. Watch the Cannon building entrance. Watch the Bradley building entrances to the tunnels. Make sure that Antifa doesn't get in there, or BLM, and exploit the situation. They did. But hopefully, in this failure, we were able to provide video. We were on the ground. You see the video of us there, and we were able to, I hope, help the cause so that we can regain our nation back from the deep state and the central bankers that control our monetary systems. What you guys got? I would like to say thanks to these brave men. Many were asked. People they're not what they used to be, man. They're not willing to risk anything, and that's pretty much how we got into this whole situation, is by, I guess, a lack of bravado. That's why I guess they have all them ED commercials. But at any rate, what we've seen is true. And we were sent there to collect video. Everyone was sent there to collect video. We were just one cell of many that were planned. I was short on my cells because I thought I had the people. I tried to get civilians from my hometown, my family's hometown. They bailed on me at the last minute. I tried to get some Marines. They bailed on me. But actually was able to get some my fellow members from the VA and the TBI clinic that I went to. And they pulled through, and these junk men pulled through. And I'll tell you, some of the strongest people in this whole thing has been our women, whether it's our spouse, Allie, or whether it's Linda, and all those other people, that my sister included, that supported us, even though the mission seems a little crazy and it was high risk. But the truth is, Antifa and BLM are responsible for the breach of the Capitol. Now, there are people responsible who went in the Capitol, and we tried to tell them, don't take the bait, don't take the bait. Well, you take the bait, you got to deal with it. But I hope the public understands that they were pretty much corralled into it, And then you had people pushing in from behind them that they couldn't get out. But you can see the people scaling the walls. You can see the video out there, and you can tell those are not normal Trump supporters. Those were militants. Anything to add, brothers? Thank you. Hey, keep the faith, trust the plan.